What makes an anime visually stunning? Recently, I found myself wanting to explore this question in depth after watching the new release of Witch Hat Atelier. And in thinking about this, I realized there are tons of components that lead to a fantastic viewing experience. 7, in fact, that ultimately make up what I'm referring to as a show's aesthetic. So welcome to a 7-part series exploring what makes anime beautiful. My name is Pei, and today we're talking about how world building is the foundation for everything. So when someone talks about an aesthetically beautiful show, there are some obvious standouts. Immediately for me, composition or cinematography comes to mind, or maybe the fluidity of animation or a show's style. But while these all interact, there's one that feels like a foundational step. The world a creator chooses to set a story in influences everything. Take for example, Witch Hat Atelier with its magical setting. The colors used, the art style, the way characters are animated. Even the sound design and music are influenced by the setting. Witch Hat Atelier's magical world is at the center of its entire aesthetic. But in reality, any world can be used to enhance the beauty of a specific story. One of my all-time favorite anime is Makoto Shinkai's influential 2016 movie Your Name. You'll see this movie come up multiple times in this set of essays, even being the focal point of one of them. It takes place in primarily 2 locations, the first being Tokyo and the second being a small rural city in Japan. Something you'll notice a lot from Makoto Shinkai's work is how much he plays with lighting, from the Tokyo skyline to the train system to huge bodies of water, because the setting that this story takes place in utilizes the many different beautiful aspects of its aesthetic. Where you can see this in a more exaggerated form is with anything magical. In my last video talking about Witch Hat Atelier, I likened it to Miyazaki's work. There are multiple reasons why, but the primary one was the intense sense of wonder that came from the magical world that was being established. In Spirited Away, we explore a grand and ancient bathhouse and its many patrons, as Chihiro navigates busy and hectic crowds of spirits she's never seen before. The daunting magnitude of the challenges she faces becomes clear. In Kiki's Delivery Service, magic is placed within the mundane. These 2 movies are beautiful coming-of-age films, standouts I hold very near and dear. And all 7 of these aesthetic components are explored beautifully through the magical worlds that they take place. Which brings us back to the focal point of this video, Witch Hat Atelier and its sense of wonder. Thank God this show's beautiful, because for the last year I've been getting served a multitude of different videos exploring just how well made the manga is. I'm familiar with a couple channels, specifically DM Punk and Lines in Motion, who have done deep dives on Witch Hat Atelier's manga and what makes it special. Meaning, despite having not read the manga, I can paraphrase some of the well-made points from these creators, like the incredibly clever and unique art style that's explored page by page. Like the way the author and artist behind the story, Kamome Shirahama, utilizes and plays with manga's paneling structure. They even capture some of that style in the anime's opening, a beautiful homage to part of what makes the anime stand out in the first place. But while Witch Hat Atelier's anime has so far executed very well on a multitude of different factors, I think that we can bring it back to this primary function of how it utilizes its magical world. For example, spells in Witch Hat Atelier are cast through drawings. Magical creatures are everywhere to be seen. But one of my first and favorite examples of beauty in Witch Hat Atelier's magical setting is its flying shoes. By drawing 2 halves of a spell on either shoe, when placed together, they cast, emitting a beautiful green light spell and propelling the caster upward, functioning kind of like rocket shoes from a mecha anime or a superhero. It's a beautiful way to express unique movement and color design. The light green effect leaving a trail that both indicates the kind of wobbly nature of the magic and is also paired against a deep purple skyline. This is what I meant when I was talking about how a magical world serves as a foundation for all these other elements of a show's aesthetic, from whales swimming around an underwater castle to someone being saved in a moment of need. These are beautiful representations of color theory, movement, and framing. The soundtrack is fantastical, meeting the tone of the world around it. The sound design enhances the impact and immersion from the spells, and there's a distinct style that feels both unique and obviously matches the inspiration of its source material. The first thing that comes to mind for me so far, just a couple episodes into Witch Hat Atelier, is just how beautiful it is, which lends itself fantastically to a coming-of-age story, especially with a protagonist who's in love with magic. The inciting incident in Witch Hat Atelier is built around this idea of forbidden magic, a set of rules that prohibits magic from affecting or being drawn directly on the human body. Now, while this serves a lot of practical aspects of the story, especially the plot, it also functions as an excuse to come up with some really clever uses of magic in the world. Spells in Witch Hat Atelier are the result of drawing specific diagrams with magical ink. From a round window that portals to different locations based off of the rotation of symbols around it, to that clever use of shoes that propel someone upward that I mentioned earlier. Because the magical world that this story takes place in is at the center of its beauty. Animation as an artistic medium really lends itself to letting imagination run wild. Any world, no matter how fantastic, can be created, which actually reminds me of this beautiful show called Keep Your Hands Off Isaacan, which follows 3 high school girls as they learn how to animate. One of the characters, Midori, is a ball of energy with endless creativity. She's obsessed with background art and world building. But one of the structures that the story consistently engages in is this kind of immersive daydream that breaks away from the reality they're in. As they brainstorm magical worlds, they literally pop into existence around them. Then they explore how they can tell a story and animate within that setting. Just one of multiple fantastic examples of what I'm talking about. The world in which a story takes place has the ability to influence every component of what makes the story beautiful, leading us next to another example. Arguably, the most famous anime movie of all time is Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. We follow a young girl named Chihiro who, along with her parents, accidentally crosses into the realm of spirits. She's thrown into a magical world. Her parents are turned into pigs. She has to work in a bathhouse filled to the brim with spirits resembling a range of different odd creatures. It's one of the best examples of magical world building to date. Whether it's the conflict with the primary antagonist, a witch named Yubaba, who's the proprietor of the bathhouse where Chihiro works, or the more nebulous struggle of a young girl being thrown into a different, wild environment and having to overcome fears and loneliness. The world and story are magically enhanced, touching on deep aspects of the human condition in a way that feels incredibly real. This movie is beautiful, with a train that travels on tracks just below the surface of an incredibly still ocean, or a 6-armed, shockingly kind yokai working the furnace room, with tiny anthropomorphized workers, little pieces of soot with eyes. The story has beautiful animation, composition, music. Literally everything on that list that I showed in the beginning is beautifully executed across most, if not all, of Miyazaki's work. But consistently at the foundation is a creative idea, a magical world where compelling characters live. Spirited Away is a simple, beautiful coming-of-age film with optimistic undertones. On the opposite side of the spectrum is Princess Mononoke, one of my all-time favorite movies, which explores a lot darker themes, like violence as a lowest common denominator for conflict, a tool that at times may be necessary but always comes with a price, often contributing to a cycle where everyone loses. And once again, it's a story where beauty comes from the magical setting. From walking alongside spirits in a forest to brutal warfare in empty pursuit of immortality. There are lots of things that make anime beautiful, but the foundation is the world where the story takes place. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next week.